Well, hello everyone. Welcome to our May live stream.
It is our May live stream, and you may ask a question if you wish.
Oh, I see what you did there, Butch.
Hey, thank you.
You know
Thank
what?
you,
Wait,
Ryan.
this thing goes right in my there. It's in my life.
You have the logo over your head.
Yeah.
Want me to switch places with you?
No, it's fine. But you know what's so weird is that these months are going by so fast. I feel like we were just here, but I'm so glad that we get to be together as fast as we are because we get to help people move on with their lives and careers and vision and all of that.
Well, I'm excited people are here, and I'm just excited that anybody who listens to this now or in the future, I hope you guys get something out of this. We're doing this because we want to see people increase and grow, maybe give you some advice you've never heard before. When I was younger, I really was striving to find people that would teach me something.
Right.
Although I didn't know where to go find that. I went to college for art, but I wanted to do more selling. I mean, I needed to learn how to sell my art as opposed to just being a hired gun. Anyway, finding people that can help you is not easy. We're hopefully here to make it easier for you.
That's good. That is why we're here.
Was
for
that
those
good?
of you might be
Was that
tuning
good?
in.
Really, Nathaniel?
That was great. Not quite as good as the OG MC announcement opener, but it was pretty good.
OG MC announcement.
That's right. No, that's why we're here though, is to help to see your vision become a reality. So for maybe those of you who are tuning in for the first time, we're Vision Possible. You can go to visionpossible.net for more information on who we are, what we do. But today we're live taking your questions. So let me give the people a instructions on how to send in their questions. So I'm going to put it across the bottom there. You can text in your question, or you can comment if you're watching on Facebook and YouTube. So if you're on Facebook and YouTube, just leave your question in the comments. And if you are, if you'd prefer to stay anonymous, you can text your question in at VP question to 81010. So type in the short code 81010, and then just do the @ symbol VP question. You'll have to follow a few steps on there, and then you'll be able to ask your question. Now, specifically, we're taking questions today on making your vision possible. So things about vision, mission, maybe about wanting to start a business or marketing. One of those areas, those are the kind of questions we're taking today. But before we start going to questions, does anyone have any thoughts, any opening statements?
Any nuggets of genius?
Any nuggets? Any chicken nuggets?
Yeah. So, I mean, everybody here is, you're coming on because you want to grow and you want to learn. So I just hope that you will ask questions that will help you kind of, get those questions answered in your mind so that you can move with it and do something. And try not to watch us with just gathering information. Gather it, but write it down. Do something to where you can actually take a step towards your future of your vision as of like tomorrow morning, right? So whatever that means. So whether it's, you want to start tonight or you want to start tomorrow morning.
I'm trying to find this on YouTube on the phone, and your volume is up on your phone. All right, never mind.
I'm like, wait, I'm hearing myself 2 times.
By the way, try as I might, I couldn't turn your volume down.
But anyway,
note to self: turn the volume down.
A lot of times, we talk about the Bible, about scriptures, and it's like, yes, we've got a whole Bible full of scriptures. We've got a whole, we can listen to teachings and we can have all this information, but it's the scriptures that you actually believe and do something with is what changes your life.
Yeah. How does it apply? Anything that we give you guys, and by the way, we might not be the last ones to give you advice or even the first ones, but whatever someone gives you, if you're going to do it, do it. Don't sit and wait till the time is perfect. Oh my gosh, the time isn't right. The time is right now.
But take it and write it down, right? It says Habakkuk 2:2, write the vision down, make it plain on tablets, so he that reads it will run with it. So whatever it is today, if something is spoken, write it down and say, how can I make this move tonight? How do I change this? And I change my whole strategy or whatever it is by tomorrow morning, but do something with it because we're in an information world right now. We get a lot of information, but it's the information that we actually move on and do something with is the most important.
Right.
It's good.
And fun fact, I am, because of this group, I'm launching my own mastermind thing Vision Possible type thing, but for young adults.
Is that the official title, the mastermind thing?
Yes.
Right.
For my Gray conference, my online community is launching on Friday, which is really exciting.
That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Exciting.
I think how many other people your age can say that? I mean, hopefully a lot, but not too many in our sphere that we
Well, they know that there's a problem, but they may not know what to do about it, and they don't know how to
Right.
go about it. So that's why all of you that are so young, you're being an example to your generation.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that I've been really mindful of this month is what percentage, and think about this, and I'm going to pull it back to what Carly just mentioned, but think about this. What percentage of your time are you spending? And does that percentage of time that you're spending on something line up with the percentage of value that you place in something? So let me give you an example. So for example, if you spend 90% of your waking hours working your 9 to 5, and then the rest of the time is just spent watching TV or whatever, and you're spending maybe 1 or 2% of your time on your vision and what excites you and what makes you happy, then maybe you need to switch that percentage up, or maybe sleep less and spend more percentage on time with things that are of value to you. So do a percentage analysis on your time. Like, how much percent of your time per day are you spending on the thing that makes you happy, on the thing that gives you purpose, on the thing that drives you forward, right? And so, for example, what Carly was just saying, like, even though she has a 9 to 5 job, I have a 9 to 5 job, a lot of us have 9 to 5 jobs, we can still look at the percentage of time that we're spending and say, is the percentage of time that we're spending adding value? So is it something that makes us excited? So for example, us doing Vision Possible, right? We've got plenty of other things to do. We could be doing anything else, but this is what gives us purpose, is helping others find their purpose, right? And with Carly, like the Grit Conference and the online community, man, what an awesome opportunity to impact this generation. Well, she's had to dedicate and whittle out a percentage of her time. So look at the percentage of time you're spending doing different things and dedicate more to those things that give you energy, that help fulfill your purpose, right? That's something that I did this month. I looked at all the time I'm spending, like, how much time am I actually spending doing what I love and doing what I'm called to do?
That's awesome.
It's all about the percentage of time.
That's it.
That's
All
it.
right. Well,
you're good for the day.
that's it. We can end there. That was the statement.
Yes.
Y'all got your money's worth.
Repeating what Nathaniel said.
Yeah. So let's take the rest of this percentage of this hour and put it towards everyone just go do what makes them happy, right?
Right.
Or you can. I mean, doing what makes you happy is what you should do, and hopefully you can make some money at it. And
Yeah.
That would be the goal.
Yeah, and it'll keep you going if you love what you do. It really will. And a lot of us, a great percentage of the population, works in jobs that they hate, and they're forced to pretend they like it every day and do what they don't love. So hopefully we can guide you at least to doing what's in your heart. We want to make your daydream your day job. That's what our slogan is.
Yes.
I got the slogan there.
That's right. That's right.
It's a great slogan. I love it.
Y'all know what the Pareto Principle is, right?
I
Pareto
don't.
Principle.
Tell me,
Pull the words out of my mouth, Nathaniel. That was going to be my.
Well, you take it, Ryan. Take it.
Thank you.
What's the
Thank you.
Pareto Principle?
I'd like a percentage of this pie that we're talking about here.
Oh, well, you just earned a percentage. There you go.
Yeah, no, I was going to dovetail off you because it is really important, and we talk about this in so many ways a lot. But the Pareto Principle basically says that essentially 20% of your inputs give you 80% of your outputs, right? So it was actually discovered, I think, by a monk geneticist who was looking at the crops and some of these, principles in nature. And then we see these things play out in business and in efficiency. Like 20% of your top clients will give you 80% of your referrals and your revenue. Your 20% of your employees will give you 80% of your headaches. It works both ways. But I think it is important to look at the ROI, whether it's positive or negative. Another thing I was going to say, Nathaniel, is kind of like in financial terms, we talk about asset allocation, but I think time allocation is a really important thing too, and see the ROI that comes from each one of those slices of those different pieces that you're investing into with your time and energy.
It's good. Way better than I would have explained it.
I could never even make up any of that.
I
I
know.
don't even know what that was. That was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the whole idea is you focus your energy on that 20%, right? On that 20% that's going to produce your 80% of results. But you got to figure out what that 20% is, right? So if that 20% is those couple hours in your day where, man, you're focused, you're dialed in, you're going for your purpose, put your energy into that. That's going to produce 80% of the results for you, right? That's the whole idea. So it's really good. All right. Well, we've got a few questions coming in. Here's one that came in actually last time. This is a bleed over from last time, but it's really good. So I'll throw this one up. This question is, what about connections? How important are they, and how do I make them? That's a really good question. Butch, why don't you take this one to start?
Yeah. What about connections? How important are they? They are the most important. They are absolutely the most important. And how do you make them?
Yeah.
You begin to get out of your comfort zone. That's how you make them. And you're not going to ever achieve a dream worth achieving unless you do it with other people. There's a few things you can do on your own and keep it small and simple. There's things you can do, and you can stay in one place for a long, long time if it's just you. But if you want to grow something that's really amazing and something that is really beyond belief great, maybe beyond how much you even think of yourself, you need to have other people involved. And the only way to do that is to get out and meet people, because maybe somebody is smarter than you and can help you in this area. If you look at any of the big computer companies, I mean, just the first two, obviously Microsoft and Apple, they were founded by multiple people. Yes, there was a front man, but he had to have multiple people behind him to get these things off the ground, because one guy's making the sale while one guy's developing the tech, and one guy's developing, the new the coding and all that stuff. Walt Disney was not an island unto himself. He was Walt Disney. He took the heat, he took the risk, and he had hundreds and hundreds of people helping him. But at the end of the day, his name was on the front because he made it all happen. So you need to think like Walt Disney. You need to think like a Steve Jobs. You need to think like an Elon Musk. He's the most recent one. He's got hundreds of people working for him. So did he start, by having hundreds of people? No, he made them over the course of his life. And some are going to fall away. Some are going to stay with you. Yeah. Most likely your best friends will not be working with you because they don't have the same work ethic you do. Maybe some do, but you're going to find the ones that think like you once you get out of your comfort zone.
It's good. It's really good.
Great.
Yeah. I'll dovetail. It's great. It's excellent. No, I'm going to dovetail on that. I'm sorry. I'm reading your comments on here. And I think that part of the answer to some of this is what we were just talking about. So Tom mentions on here how, he plans to go to California, visit famous people, buildings. He wants to be a cartoonist. He's 20 years old. He's in college. He hopes to get a career as soon as possible, and he's applying for summer jobs. I agree with you, Tom. Applying for summer jobs is a great direction. Here's why. Because it gets you what Butch was just talking about. When you want a career in something, relationships will help you get to the top. You got to serve your way to the top. That's especially if you're looking for an actual career, maybe in an animation studio, because you mentioned cartoonist or wherever, right? Is get a relationship, start working some summer jobs, do an internship, right? Start somewhere, and then you'll develop those relationships that'll bring you to the top. But serve your way to the top. And Butch can even speak more to this, because I know you're wanting to get into cartooning, but I think summer jobs is a great direction, a great place to start.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about that, because Butch had, many interns throughout his years at Nickelodeon, so you can give him a little more information. But you cannot, if one turns you down, you just keep going to the next studio. You don't stop. An internship is perfect because you get to get in there. You get to meet all kinds of people. I don't want to keep speaking for you, but he would meet with the interns at Nickelodeon. And what was it, once a week or once a month?
Well, I would meet with the interns because we'd get a new crop of interns every 3 or 4 months. There'd be like 20 of them, and they'd all want to have lunch with me. So rather than having 20 individual lunches, I would have one big lunch. We'd have food brought in, and I'd have a table full of 20 people and just have them ask me questions, which was great. But I want to talk about internships too. When I was younger, before I was even in the animation industry, as a cartoonist, as a young budding artist, I would go to art fairs. I lived in Michigan. And there's no animation industry in Michigan to speak of, but I would go to art fairs and I would go to carnivals, and I'd set up a little table and I would draw people, and I would have a table there for $5. I'll draw your picture. So I would make money drawing people's picture because you make it cheap enough where people could go, oh, cool, this is neat. You know, they could afford it. They would walk around with it. And so there's ways to get yourself practice and then get yourself paid, even if you're not working at a Hollywood studio. A lot of these people want to work at the Hollywood studio right away. And I hope you do get that. But there's other jobs you can get first. But then, then become an intern, get in the building. We talk about that all the time. You get into a building. That's the key thing, because then people that work there will actually see you. And that really helps.
And you can interact with them because you're not there as like a fan, right? You're there to work. And so, and let me tell you something, when people see a good work ethic, we like, those are the ones that we want working with us. Well, the ones that are lazy on their phones, where they should be doing something else and they're sitting there, like on their phones, and they're not paying attention to what we've asked them to do. It's very frustrating. And we're like, you're not going to work long in this business because it's about working hard. And, there is somewhat of a paying your dues thing, especially in entertainment.
Yeah. So
it's good.
I was thinking of an example from a conference I went to a month or two ago. And in this case, it was in the financial industry, but there was a guy who saw someone that just kind of, he was, in college, he was looking for an internship, saw a guy that looked kind of, pretty well dressed and just like he had it together. And so he interned for this guy. And then because of that relationship that they created, years later, I think over a decade later, when that guy was looking to sell his financial practice, and by this point, the guy who was the intern was now an up-and-coming financial advisor, he actually ended up buying that practice and has a huge brand name behind him, a really strong client base because of that initial summer internship, just from going up to somebody who the guy kind of aspired to be like. And, you never know what those kind of doors and opportunities are going to generate for you in the future. So I think, what Nathaniel said about serving your way to the top, what Butch said about the value of in-person interaction. And even if you have to be going outside your comfort zone to approach those people, you never know what can come of that.
Yeah.
That's so true. I mean, man, I just had something really good and it just slipped my mind. Ryan, you blew my mind. And I was like, oh,
I'm
that's
sure
so good.
Right out of there.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. It was an example. That's all right. We'll move on. But one of the things I'm going to tack this on. So Tom also said, unfortunately, I'm not that good at drawing. So Butch, I know he wants to become a cartoonist and he wants to do animation. But what are your thoughts for someone maybe just starting out? Like, hey, I need to just get my drawing skills better.
Well, it's like anything, guys. If you're going to be an artist, practice. And if you think you're not that great at drawing, maybe you're not, or maybe you are. I don't know. But you don't have to be an amazing artist to be in the entertainment industry. If you want to be a storyteller, you can be a director, you can be a writer, you can draw probably enough to get your point across. Don't wait until you're the perfect artist, because you're never going to be the perfect artist. You're always going to want to draw like this person or that person. You're never going to. You're going to draw like you. A great comic icon, guy who drew comic books, just passed away the other day. His name is Neil Adams, and he was 80. And I was a huge fan of his my whole childhood. Like, I would buy comic books that Neil Adams drew. And he's passed away now. But I could never draw like Neil Adams. I would look at his stuff going, my gosh, I could never draw like this. And I would try and I couldn't do it. And instead of letting that stop me, I just started drawing like me. I started drawing the way I drew. And I went, you know what, I'm just going to embrace I didn't know the word embrace back then, but I went, I'm just going to do what I can do the best I can do. I'll never be like this guy, and I shouldn't be like that guy. I'm going to be like me. And that goes for anything. Carly with what she does, Nathaniel, Ryan, everyone's going to have their own style. But I want you to understand that you can still get in entertainment without being an amazing artist. You don't have to be. Look how many bad actors there are in entertainment. Look how many bad writers. I'm not saying you're bad, but like, there's people that don't have any talent at all, that don't let anything hold them back. They get in there, so you can get in there.
I know.
Does that come back
Yeah,
to
I think
more who you know than what you know, Butch? Back to the relationships.
It totally. I always tell people, how many bad movies are there?
Yeah.
Way more than good ones. And they all hire their friends, their pals, their buddies. That's where the connections come in. Get those connections so you'll be able to get hired by your friends, and then you'll get the experience. That's I'm working with a bunch of writers right now. And the only reason I'm working with them, they're talented, but I met them and they're my friends. And so we're working together because I knew them and I can trust them. That's why I hired them.
That I remember what I was going to say, praise God. But it's about boldness. So I just want to encourage people, like, if you're trying to start off and maybe you don't have the skills, maybe you're not that great yet, be bold, make a connection. Don't let that hinder you. See, that can easily become your biggest obstacle to fulfilling your vision is you and the way you think about yourself every single time. Get over yourself, get over how you think about yourself, realize it's not about you, be bold and go make a connection. I've done that multiple times in my life. And the example I was going to give is I read a book years and years ago, probably when I was in high school. It made a huge impact on me. It's called The 4-Hour Workweek. It's an awesome book. It helped me to unplug from like the 9-to-5 mentality. But in that book, he talks about, the author, Tim Ferriss, he literally talks about how he would cold call random CEOs and ask them for their number one like piece of advice for an up-and-comer. And I think that was so cool. He was just so bold. And you know what? Out of those, a lot of them he got rejected. And there's another great book called Rejection Proof. And it talks about how, man, and once you get rejected enough, you just get this boldness on the inside. So even if you're a bad writer or a bad drawer in your own eyes, and you just keep getting rejected, keep going through that. It builds a toughness. It builds a stamina on the inside of you. You get rejected enough, eventually it doesn't matter anymore. And you're just going to plow through, keep building, keep doing. And so I encourage you guys, be bold, especially if, maybe you think you don't cut mustard. That's okay. Keep building that tenacity on the inside of you.
You know, I love what you said, because I've just been teaching a lot about that, about being bold. And one thing the Lord showed me is that boldness is not an attitude. Boldness is knowing the truth. You are able to be bold because you know the truth. So the truth would be, let's say in your career, like this is what I've been called to do. I am learning how to do it, or whatever, wherever you are, what level you're at. But knowing that I have made a choice that I will be in this business. So who's going to hire me, right? Instead of being like, well, I hope I get hired, and I don't know who's going to hire me because, I don't match up to that person. I'm not like this person. But boldness has got to come from a knowing on the inside, because if it doesn't, it looks a lot like arrogance.
That's so good, Julianne. That was a mic drop moment. I feel like boldness is not an attitude. It's knowing the truth.
Yeah.
And there's a humility to it, actually, I found, because that really resonated with me, Julianne, because I've been saying something that sounds potentially arrogant, but it's actually a humble admission of the truth, that what God has revealed to me, as well as what I just know on the inside to be true. And when you get to a certain point in your craft, hopefully you can say this with confidence and humility, but where you can say, I am the best in the world at what I do. Now, you don't get there instantly. It takes a long time. Butch didn't just, show up one day at Nickelodeon and just get 4 shows out of, random handed to him. But there's a point at which you can really own and should own your value, not because in an arrogant way, but because that is something people need to know who are going to work with you, that if you don't believe in your value and what you have to offer, then why should anybody else, right? And I think when you hone your skills and you have a certain minimum baseline of experience and knowledge, you should get to that point. And it really is more humility, and it's a knowing of the truth. So that was the worth the price of the ticket right there for me, Julianne, what you just said.
Wow.
So I got a question for everyone on the call, for all of us. What makes someone a professional? What makes someone a professional?
Carly, go ahead.
Thanks. It's a good question. Let's see. I think I'm trying to think of like professionals that I look up to in my life.
We can come back to you.
We
can come back. I mean,
someone else take it first.
I'll take it.
Experience, Butch.
I think experience. I think maturity.
Maturity. It's good. Ryan.
And also, obviously, technically, if you get paid, you're a professional, but you'll get paid when you're mature.
That's good. Yeah. When you get paid, it's good. Ryan.
Yeah,
Ryan,
that was the technically it's getting paid for it, but I think if you think about the root word of that professional, the root word is profess, right? And so I think you should be professing what you know and what you do for a living, because it comes from the inside out. Anybody who knows me, you can't go 24 hours being around without me talking about finances or investing or financial planning in some kind of way. It just pours out of me because that's who I am and that's what I do. So naturally I should do that for a job, and you should get paid well for it.
Well, Ryan stole the punchline. but yes.
Sorry, buddy.
What was it?
Carly, what about you? What's a professional?
Confidence, aside from everything else, I think it, like, obviously getting paid for it, being experienced, because those are like things just in general. I think it's confidence because, like, if you hold yourself in a professional manner, you could like be getting better at something or be on your way to getting better, like to achieving something, but yet you hold yourself as a professional because of just your confidence and your just your poise as a worker.
I like
Somebody
So none of these answers, though, notice, guys who are watching, none of these answers were about going to college, getting a degree, getting a certification, getting licensed, bonded, and insured. It literally buy a briefcase, carry it around, and profess, because that's the root word, profess that you're a professional. See yourself in it. Do it, have the confidence, have the experience. I do believe experience plays a part because we hear the thing, fake it till you make it, right? Okay, there's space and place for that. But I really believe if you got a baseline of experience, you can hold yourself professionally with poise and you say it out of your mouth and you act like it, man. But none of that was about college. None of that was about working a set amount of time and getting a certain amount of experience, right?
getting into debt.
Getting into debt?
With college, you're getting into debt.
Oh, right. Yes.
That is a good.
No, I thought that was part of being a professional was you had to get into debt. I'm like,
if you go to college, chances are you may get into debt. So we might want to watch out for that too. It's not good to start off in debt when you're young.
But I wanted to add to that experience because, like, I didn't know where you were going with that, though, Nathaniel. But it is true, though. It's like I didn't go to college. I had like home experience, like at the moment experience, working for companies and learning literally on the spot because I needed a job and I needed money, right? And so I got experience that way. So then at that point, at first you might be kind of faking it a little bit while you're trying to figure out what you're doing, and you're trying to tell somebody that, hey, I really do know what I'm doing, but your actions aren't actually showing that. But when I realized that I could really learn anything as long as I was applying myself to learn it, then I knew I could be a professional. As long as I didn't think of myself as like I'm an idiot, I can't, you can't really learn anything, and you're never going to be anything. How is that going to turn into someone who's a professional? Because you're going to turn into something that you don't want to be, which, in all worldly terms would be a loser, as opposed to being a professional. So I didn't go to college, but I learned how to be professional. I learned how to speak professionally. I learned how to think professionally, and I learned what the job entailed. And I did it with everything that I could. I served my employer in every possible way. And that's what I believe made me a professional.
I think it also has to do with being coachable because like you're saying, just serving and learning all the things. That's where the cockiness comes in. If you're not coachable, you're like, yeah, I got this. And you're like standing on this like false sense of confidence because you're being arrogant, but it's just being coachable. And that, I believe, also pours into being a professional.
Amen.
My number one thing that I look for in talent, like human talent, like employees, is a humble, teachable spirit and the ability to calibrate yourself to your leader. So what I mean by that is like you pick up on nuances of other what you would call a professional. So let's say you're sitting under someone, you're interning, you're doing a summer job like we talked about earlier, whatever, someone who's doing what you're doing. You calibrate yourself, you pick up on their nuances, and you slowly become that. I mean, it's the law of who you hang around, you become, right? And so if you're humble, teachable, you don't have this cocky attitude of I got this, I'm there, I've arrived. That's not what we're saying when we say profess it. What we're saying is you put yourself under, you become humble, you become teachable. And then after a certain amount of time, you become it. So we've got a lot of, sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
I think that poise aspect is really important. And when I think of someone who's a consummate professional, it's a balance between respecting themselves and respecting their client. If you're a business person, right? There's a professional way of handling things, which is that you have you do what you say you're going to do, right? There's responsibility, accountability, trustworthiness, all that. But I think there's also, you don't let yourself get bossed around, and you don't also lose your even keeled sense of, you stay in balance at a certain point with people can handle, if you have like, everybody's going to have a problem with a client at some point, right? So being able to handle those while maintaining professionalism in that context, I think is what Carly said about poise. And I think that is something I'm picking up more and more in my industry, and just by observing people around me, is the way that they handle situations, the way they carry themselves for the mutual benefit of themselves and their clients.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. Well, we've talked about a lot so far. We've got several comments, questions, etc. coming in. So let me do this one from Tony. As I am spending my percentage of time focusing on my vision as a creative writer, there are some minor things that are distracting me from moving forward. What are some unique ways to avoid them? Carly, I think you'd answer this one really well, because you've got all these new things that you're building, these new businesses, these new, the conferences, the website, all that stuff. What are ways that you avoid distractions so you can accomplish stuff?
Yeah, I think it also comes down to clearing time and making space just for the one thing you need to focus on. So I think instead of intimidating yourself with a massive thing like, oh my gosh, I have to, for example, read 10 chapters this week. Like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do that? And then you get easily distracted because, like me, I'll put it off and literally procrastinate until the end because I don't feel like doing that. But if I can break it down into chapter by chapter, I'm going to do 2 chapters a day for 5 days. That way I am creating space, because I'm saying I'm going to do an hour a night and do that 2 chapters and just chunk that out and like literally just do those 2 chapters. That's how I release myself from being distracted, because there's a mountain of things you need to accomplish. Your brain's going to automatically like find anything else to do because it's like intimidating to you. But I also go back to, if you know your why, you'll always do your what. So like if you have a why behind what it is you have to do this week, it'll always fuel you forward to get it done. Because even though you're like, oh, I don't want to read 10 chapters this week, but it's going to advance my creative writing career. So I'm going to get it done, and I'm going to break it down into these practical goals. So that's how I do it. I create space that's like just dedicated to that thing I have to do. And then the rest of the time can be, like doing whatever else I need to do. But I don't do anything else in that time that I set aside for that task.
I remember the time years ago when I was living in Hollywood, but I wasn't working professionally, really. I sort of had a job as an artist and wasn't making a lot of money. And my friends went to go hang out by the pool, so I went with them. But I brought a writing tablet with me, and I was writing. I wrote a play while I was sitting next to the pool. And they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm writing a play." And it wasn't the greatest play in the world. No one ever saw it, but I was writing something. I was doing something. I was practicing.
I have 4 words for that, for distraction. You know what they are? Put your phone down.
Literally.
That phone is such a distraction. I'm telling you, it is just, it's like people I hear all the time, like, well, I just get to veg out and just like look at everybody else.
You've vegged enough. You've already vegged.
You just can't afford to do that, because trust me, your little 5-minute vegging will turn into 20 minutes.
Yep.
And then you'll be envious of people's lives that aren't even true and real. And their bodies and their face that aren't even real because they're filters. I mean, there's so many things that are wrong about it. I'm not saying not to go on your phone. Trust me, I have one right here and I'm on it, quite a bit. But I do know the things that distract me, and that is the phone. So
we need a hashtag PYPD.
Yes.
Your phone down.
So, but if you can, here's the thing. Everyone, I believe, has discipline. You're disciplined in something. You may not be disciplined in the things
You'll make time for something.
You'll make time for something. You might, you might spend all your time playing video games.
When
but
your favorite show is on, boy, you're right there.
Right, but you're disciplined to play that video game. So you do have discipline. It's just where you put in that discipline. So if you can create some boundaries for yourself. Okay, so I refuse to even pick up my phone. I know that we use our phone for business, but I refuse to pick up my phone between this hour and that hour. And I'm going to turn it off, or I'm going to put it on silent, or I'm just going to put it on do not disturb so I'm not tempted. Because you will be amazed how much work you get done when you're not being distracted by the phone. The phone is just, I know it's not from the devil, but sometimes it feels like it is.
And I'll take it a step further. I've done this before. Like I've literally had to do this before. When I'm working on a project, I will set down my phone and I'll go in and I'll unplug my router because I don't need internet. Like I will literally, like if I'm going to be working on a Word document, you don't need the internet for that.
Wow, that's
So
good.
unplug the internet. Literally, you can't get notified. Nothing's gonna, beep, buzz you, etc. Like I do struggle, like especially recently. I felt like my brain has become scattered, and it's not like necessarily bad things. Like when there's just so much on your plate, I jump really quickly from one thing to one thing, and that's not always healthy. Like sometimes you got to see something to completion, and then so one of the really practical things that I've done is I've just slowed down, literally slowed down. So it sounds ironic. It's like, oh man, you've got so much you want to do. You've got something you want to be creative with. You got something that you want to produce. I just need to knock this out and get this done. Sometimes just slow down. So turn off the music while you're driving in the car. Turn off even audiobooks. Just be quiet. Just be still. When you're walking from one place to another, slow down your walk, slow down your driving. Like all of those things are things that I do to help slow my mind down so that I can be more effective going from thing to thing, from task to task. And then all of those, and it's disciplining your mind, right? It's disciplining your mind to be able to focus. Because sometimes what we do is we indulge our brain, right? We indulge it by like that slot machine mentality. You're just scrolling on Facebook. You're hitting dopamine hit after dopamine hit after dopamine hit. And it's random, like TikTok. Think about it. You can go there and every single time something brand new you've never seen before. You can keep scrolling and you'll never see the same thing twice. That's like a slot machine.
By the way.
What's that?
Follow me on TikTok, by the way.
Yes. No, we're not talking about that right now.
You know what? There's such a fear of missing out.
Yeah.
FOMO, big time. There's so much fear about that. Like that you're like freaked out that someone might find out that someone else is pregnant before you do, or the gender reveal is shown before you do. And it's just, I mean, people are like that. They're like taking bets on things like this, right? So the fear of missing out is bad. But let me tell you something. You think you have fear of missing out on current events, you're going to miss out on your whole life. You don't put some boundaries around your phone, because time goes by no matter what. Every month we're like, the first of the month we do this. And we're always like, how could it be the first of the month already? It was just the 1st of April. How could it be the 1st of May? Yeah. And we're on Monday, we celebrate our 30th wedding anniversary.
This coming
Woo! Congratulations.
Yeah.
Did that happen? You see, if you guys are in your 20s,
2 of you on 30s, this call weren't even born then.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying that you think that you've got all this time, and you don't. You'll find yourself 10 years from now doing something that you wish you would have started 8 years ago, but you didn't. And now you've got frustration on top of all the other emotions that you're feeling. So just start writing some things down. One other thing I want to mention is that I do a prayer walk every day. Okay, I take that back. At least 5 days a week, if not 6, but usually it's 5. And I have gone sometimes without my phone, and I actually needed my phone because there was like a snake or something, or there was and
she would throw her phone at it.
Right. No, but just like hey, can someone help me? So I take my phone, but I was like so frustrated a couple of weeks ago because my phone was like going beep, beep, beep. And I have the app U version, which is really a fun app. But every hour, and I've got to turn off the notifications, I always get, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Really?
And it gives you like, talk to God, press here, click here. And you talk to God. It's just like a way to get you to keep looking at scriptures all day, which is great. But I'm like, I am not I have like that phone strap thing. I'm like, I am not looking at this phone. I can feel it on my body going, zzz, zzz, but I'm like, no, I've got to start saying, practice what I'm preaching, and not be tempted to pick up that phone when it's ringing or when it's buzzing or whatever. It just makes a little bleep, noise.
Hey, Nathaniel, take the comment off of our screen, please. It's been on there.
Yes. Hey, one thing that Julianne just said brings up a really good point. Sometimes, and I learned this from Henry Cloud. Sometimes you have to say no to the good to make room for the best. And even the notification Julianne was just talking about, it's not a bad thing. Like, just read your Bible. Like, That's a good notification.
Yeah.
But it can be distracting. That's a good notification, but sometimes you got to prune that to leave room for the best. And think about it in terms of a rose bush. That's where that illustration comes from, right? You've got to cut off some of the prettiest flowers because you want it to bud and create new flowers, right? So sometimes say no, turn it off, put it away, even though it's a good thing. So Tom, it wasn't Tom, it was Tony. You said some of the things might be education, trips, chores, family events. Again, all of those things might be good, right? But you need to say no to them so you can spend more of a percentage of your time on the best, which is your purpose, your calling.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, just write some things down. Like, what are your priorities? And if your priorities are being all, smothered with all of the, and listen, if you're a mom and you've got kids and you've got a husband and you've got a house that you're taking care of and all those things, listen, you've got to put in priority. What is my ministry? What is the most important thing I can do? If you've got children, this is coming from me, someone who was not going to be a stay-at-home mom because this girl was not a stay-at-home mom. But the minute I had the other girl on the screen here, Carly Hartman, my whole life changed. My heart changed. And so everything that I was going to do, I said, I can do that later. Because right now, she is the most important thing. And then when Sophia came, they are the most important thing. That if I can't get what's in my house right, what good am I to get the rest of the world while my own children are suffering? So if you have to work, I understand. I was raised by a single mom. She had 3 jobs at one point, and we never saw her because she had to, pay for us. And I get it, and I totally get it. But if you are in a situation where you don't have to work, but you're so used to the money, because you've got like 2 incomes and you're so used to that and you're not willing to maybe take your lifestyle down a little bit, or maybe just trust God that your husband gets a really good raise, try that. Because God's best for you, of course, would be to be with your kids. And there are extenuating circumstances why maybe you can't. And that is an exemption. But if you can, you really need to think about what's my main priorities at home.
And please don't fall into the victimized mentality that so many people fall into. And I understand life is hard. I get it. I understand things don't work out. I understand, but please don't become a victim. Become an overcomer. Become an achiever. The obstacles will show up, but please overcome them, or do your best to overcome them. Don't let them knock you down. Because one little obstacle knocking you down is going to make it that much easier for the next one to knock you down.
That's so good. All right, so we got a question from Ariana. I'll ask that next. One from Aberrell maybe, and then one more from the Living Blue Jay. So we got 3 more questions in the time we got left. I'll start with
Dave. Is anyone named Mike or Dave?
Yeah.
Good Butch. Good, yeah, Butch. Butch. Yeah, just all very cool names.
John, Mike, Dave. Anyone in the chat? Just please ask a question. All right. So Ariana asked this, what helps with motivation to spend time on one's passion? So we've talked about this a little bit, but we haven't talked specifically about motivation. How do you stay motivated towards your passion?
Well, let me ask you this question. How much do you love your project that you're doing? How much do you love? How much is it a part of your life, your vision, your purpose? We talk about vision all the time, which is yes, but also you got to know your purpose. Why are you here? Ask yourself that question. Why am I here on this earth? God put you here for a purpose and a reason. And your vision will have something, matter of fact, a lot to do with your purpose. What is your purpose? Why are you here? Ask that question. And if you can't figure it out in one day, start writing things down. Why am I here? Lord, show me. Lord, show me why I'm here. You brought me here. You put me in this family. I'm in that state. I'm in, all those things. Why am I here? What is my purpose in life? And through that, you will find your vision and you will go after it because it will be a part of you. It's like as me as a mom, anybody that tries to mess with my husband or my daughters, that's it. They're dead. Like I'll kill them. Right. So it's the same thing. It's like, what are you passionate about?
I won't mess with your husband.
No, but what is there? You'll find yourself, your purpose in many ways. One being something that I love. What is an injustice that you are so passionate about? what are you willing to fight for? And your purpose will come out of that. These are questions you need to ask yourself and start writing them down.
And you might be the only one at the beginning.
Yes.
You might be the only one doing it at the beginning. And you know what? And I was going to say, Nathaniel works for a organization that was started by one person, and now it's a huge organization. But it started with that one visionary. So that's what I love about being the only one at the beginning. If you have passion and don't stop, it will happen.
Yeah, I think there's.
If you're the only one doing it, that means you can create a need. You create something unique in the marketplace. So it's even more of an opportunity. If you're the only one doing it, that means you've got something unique.
Yeah. And I think it shouldn't be something you have to if it's truly a passion, it should be more of a sense of release to give yourself permission to do it than something you have to force yourself to do.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it's really not your passion. Now, I'm not saying everything's easy all the time, but it should be something like Julianne said, you kind of can't hold yourself back from, whether that's an injustice you want to right, or maybe it's just something you purely love and enjoy. And I think those two things are very related. In fact, I have a teaching called, it's Finding Your Sweet Spot that talks a lot about the relationship between all that. But you really shouldn't have to force yourself to engage in your passion. Otherwise, that's just work. And yes, work is absolutely part of this, as we've talked about already. But I think it should be more giving yourself permission and release to follow those things. And that passion will push you up the hill of those inevitable struggles and setbacks that we're all going to have to overcome to get to that point of vision and purpose.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's good.
All right. Next question. About your drawing style, where did the inspiration come from? I like that question.
Who wants to take that one?
I will.
I guess that's for me. Where my inspiration come from? It's like, I'll just answer this in a general way. My drawing style came out of stuff that I liked to draw as a kid. The shows I grew up with. I grew up with a lot of watching Hanna-Barbera on television on Saturday mornings. Hard for a lot of us to imagine that there was only one place during the week you could watch cartoons, but that was on Saturday morning when I was a kid. And then I would watch Hanna-Barbera, I'd watch the Flintstones, I'd watch Scooby-Doo, I'd watch all these cartoons, the Jetsons, and all that. And then growing up, I watched a lot of Bugs Bunny, a lot of Tom and Jerry. And my style just kind of developed out of that, drawing the characters on TV, comic books like Spider-Man and Superman, things like that. And then eventually your style takes the form of where you're working. I worked at Hanna-Barbera for a while, and I had to draw like the Hanna-Barbera people did, or I wasn't going to have a job. So I was forced to draw like that. And then when I worked at Nickelodeon, I was forced to kind of draw in a more, modern style. So it kind of came out of being a mixture of loving certain things and having to do certain things. And yours will be the same way, but you've got to keep practicing. Do not stop practicing. Not everything's going to be genius, but everything's going to be bad either.
Yeah. I like what Tommy the Shimigami says, which is that doing what you enjoy and love to some people does not feel like work at all. And I think that's true.
I said that. I say that all the time. I never feel like I'm working because I love what I do so much.
Absolutely. If you do what you love, you never work a day in your life, right? Now, that doesn't mean there's not going to be challenges and setbacks, but it really shouldn't be something that you force yourself to do. It should be something you have to maybe sometimes force yourself not to do, because otherwise it'll completely engross your life. That's what my experience has been like the past year and a half of doing what I do. But that's a good problem to have, right? So I think that's a great point. But that doesn't mean it's going to be super easy and perfect all the time either, but you'll be so impassioned by what you do, it'll push you through that. I call it passion is jet fuel for the soul, and it gets you through those tough times.
Amen.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah. A lot of people talk about like work-life balance, and it's important, but how do you define that? Does that mean your work is not your life? Because to me, I love what I do so much. My work is my life. It is what I love to do. But people I find who are always talking about work-life balance, what that means to them is they don't like their work, so they need to go have their life balance, which is the stuff they want to do, the stuff they need to do to decompress, the stuff they need to do to relax. It's like when you truly are passionate about something, what you do becomes the thing you like. It becomes your life. And yeah, so I love that from Tommy. All right. Got one more question here. This is probably the last one we'll be taking. This one's from the Living Blue Jay. I think this is a really great practical question. Any tips on resumes for those with no experience to add? How can I heighten the chances to get a response? That is a great question. And let me start with something, and then I'll throw it to Julianne. But what I look for as an employer, like when I'm looking at resumes, first of all, the person doing the hiring doesn't have a lot of time. Okay. So they're not going to be reading through the whole resume. Most of the time, I don't even get down to the experience part. I don't even get down to their work experience and their education and all of that. I don't care about that. I care about that top part, that bio about yourself. What do you put on there about yourself? What are your skills, your talents, and your abilities? That's what's going to get you a call back from me, not all of your experience and everything else. Because honestly, I found that the people with all the experience are sometimes harder to retrain. Like, I'd rather not take someone with a bunch of experience that I have to retrain to fit my culture. I'd rather take somebody with knowledge, skills, abilities, hunger, humble, teachable spirit, those things we've been talking about on this call. And then I'd rather get you trained. Now, I need you to have some sort of baseline. I need you to have some sort of written skills, grammar skills, right? All that stuff. But if you put knowledge, skills, and abilities and you put your best foot forward, that is really what's going to get you in the door and then get that first phone call. So anyways, I just wanted to mention that. Julianne, what are your thoughts?
Well, that's what I was going to say too. It's like, you know what, if you don't have the experience, then you write a bio about yourself. You write something about yourself and you don't lie. You tell them what kind of person you are, what kind of worker you are, and say something a little bit about the company. I believe that every resume should be created for each job, and that you would mention, because if you don't even know what the company does and you're trying to apply for it, to me, I would say like, wow, that person took the extra time to find out what we do, and they spoke about it, and they showed me how they could enhance what we're already doing. And that means that somebody is very focused, very professional, right? They may not have all the experience that we're looking for, but if you can teach anybody to do anything, right? I mean, like I'm not an electrician, but I'm sure that if someone taught me how to put a ceiling fan in, I could probably, by them give me a tutorial, of course on YouTube, but I could figure that out. But so that kind of stuff you can learn how to do. But what's in the heart of the person is something that's in you that probably isn't going to change because you're at this job. So if you already have a really great heart and you see that you want to serve and we see potential in what you've written, then to me, you would be right at the top of the list.
Yeah. Carly, go ahead.
A guy that works at the company I work at, his name is Ken Coleman. And if you go to kencoleman.com, he has a really great free guide, I believe, on a resume guide of what to put on there, what is the most impactful thing for an employer to look at. So that could be a helpful resource for you too.
That's good.
Thank you, Carly.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I second what Julianne was saying too. If you're not creating a separate resume each time you're applying for a job, you're not customizing it enough. Hiring managers, they see so many resumes all the time. What's going to have it stick out? Check out that program Carly recommended, but every single time, that's how you do it. You got to write for that hiring manager. You got to write for that HR department that's going to be looking at it. And then the other thing I mentioned is add a cover letter. Add a cover letter. I can't tell you how many resumes I get all the time. I probably spend 2 hours a week looking through resumes. And honestly, probably 85 to 90% of the resumes I see, no cover letter, no customization. It's just a standard template that they downloaded off the internet. And all they're trying to talk about is, I went to this high school, I went to that college. I don't care what college you went to. I don't care what high school you went to. In fact, quite frankly, I might take a quick glance at the places you've worked, but I'm looking more at your tenure at those places. Have you been able to hold a steady job over a certain amount of time? And when I see I worked these 5 places over the past year, it's better to leave that stuff off, right? It's better to just sell yourself and say, hey, here's my knowledge, skills, and abilities. This is what I can add to the organization. This is why I want to work at this organization, right? All that can be in a cover letter. It can be at the top of the resume, but focus on those things and let your work experience, and especially to the question, if you don't have any, that's totally okay.
Oh, I think
okay.
we lost you.
No, I'm still here. Oh, sorry about that, guys. I'm just looking. We've got one. Do you think we have time for one more? One more
I don't know if we
question?
do. We got 4
Well,
minutes left. As long as it's
what is
quick.
it? Is it a quick
As long as
question?
it's quick.
It'll be a quick question. Wait, where'd it go? It just literally disappeared off my
Becoming not
screen.
quick.
It's probably okay. Well, apparently the question is not going to get answered. I just lost my feed over here. So never mind. Does anyone have any closing comments for the
Yeah,
stream?
go ahead, Julian. Got any closing comments?
Well, before I had that closing comment, I wanted Carly to tell them about the resume that she sent to her employer that she's now with.
Yeah, I was thinking back to the story, but yeah, I customized my resume for my job now, and it's so custom. I mean, I put like a headshot on there. I put like an about me, how I will serve your company, like what it is I feel I can bring to the table for your company, and then like a little recommendation from someone I've worked with on there as well to kind of like refer me and just like share like a helpful tip of how I work, and then my experience way at the bottom. But I did that, and then I also sent in a letter as a thank you after my interviews, just to like really like show who I am in the process, because people are talking to thousands all the time. So it's just nice to kind of stand out a little bit. Don't know if that helped, but that's kind of the process that I went through.
Didn't you find out that from the company that about a certain color?
Maybe you remember.
Oh, well, you had heard about sending out to make your resume like another color. And so didn't you do it pink?
Yes, you're right. Oh my gosh. Yes, sorry.
You had to be reminded of that? Come on.
Yes, I made it not white. So I made it pink as opposed to like a white piece of paper. And I don't know, could have stood out. It was pink, and then my headshot had me in a pink.
Well, now you got the job.
Yeah, you've been there a couple of years, so obviously it worked.
There you go. Lots of good examples.
Moms remember those kind of details.
I know. Thank you, mother.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that would definitely stick out. You'd be like, oh, wow, who's this? It leaves an impression.
Right.
All right. Well, guys, we are out of time. And thank you all for sending in your questions and taking the time to join us.
Next time we do this. I can't believe this. The year will be half over.
Hopefully we get some May flowers after all of our April showers. And
we live in California.
We don't have any.
At all.
I had snow this morning, so I'm not going to talk about rain.
Oh my
gosh. Storms right now. So.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys.
Thank you for joining us. We love you guys. Thank you, fans of Vision Possible. Thank you, Vision Possible team. You're amazing.
Yes.
See you all next month.
Bye.